All right, I think we are gonna get started. So welcome everybody to Waste Management Resiliency. I'm excited to introduce our two speakers today. We have Matt O'Connell and Danielle Easdale. Just gonna read a quick introduction about them and then I'll turn it over to them. So Matt O'Connell is a recycling coordinator for the City of Omaha Public Works Environmental Quality Control Division. An essential function of the recycling coordinator is to assist in administering contracts to provide various services in Omaha. Contracts include Omaha residential garbage recycling and yard waste collection, operation of the city's recycling drop-off sites, the glass recycling program, and oversight of the city's recycling processing contractors who are awarded municipal contracts. Additional duties include management of the city's compost operations. And then Danielle Easdale has a wealth of experience in waste resource management spanning nearly 2 decades. Danielle has worked extensively across 3 continents in the waste environmental management sectors. Currently, she serves as the Director of Sales and Marketing at Firstar Fiber. Danielle is committed to sharing her extensive experience in the recycling industry with communities, businesses, and the general public. She has served on the Nebraska Recycling Council Board of Directors since 2015. Danielle's passion for promoting sustainable solutions underscores her mission to drive positive change in waste management practices. So, thank you for being here.
Well, welcome. Thank you for having us. Like you mentioned, I'm Matt O'Connell. I'm with the City of Omaha, and I'm just going to give an overview of our collection program, recycling program, and compost operation for the City of Omaha. So, standing room only. I'm glad you guys felt that this is the most popular session to come to. So collecting garbage in Omaha is a big undertaking. We serve over 140,000 households every week, which involves driving a truck out to each one of these residences to collect their garbage and recycling. We've got 6,200 special collection residents, which are elderly or disabled residents where the contractor will go up to the house to service their carts. We've got 650 alleys that serves about 10,000 houses in the city. It's a tremendous amount of alleys, and that proved to be a challenge when we were bidding out the collection contract. Our city covers about 144 square miles with over 2,000 miles of road. So imagine it's a lot of miles they put on those garbage trucks, as well as plowing all those streets and repairing the potholes. With our new collection contract, the cost approaches $22 million, just over $22 million, with disposal approaching $4 million. And we have about 150,000 tons annually of municipal solid waste. So to know what we have now, we need to talk about our previous collection contract. So back at the end of 2020, our contract ended. We had no more extensions, so we knew we needed to start the process for a new collection contract. So went through quite a bit of planning, working with engineers and consultants to do a pilot program. For those of you that have been here since before 2020, you know that the old system was a manual system where the workers rode on the back of trucks and they picked up the garbage cans manually and threw them into the back. There's a lot of injuries, there's a lot of back injuries, slips and falls, so really it was an outdated system, and in fact, we couldn't even get a single contractor to give us a bid to continue that same system. We did get some of the feedback that, I like what we have, why are you changing it? Well, the contract was up, and just nobody wanted to do it. There's, technology has really changed the collection system in the country. As I mentioned, it was a manual system, and then yard waste, due to driver issues with waste management, the previous hauler collection contractor, we ended up having to commingle that yard waste with the garbage for the last few years of that contract. So as I said, we knew we needed a new contract that was going to set to expire at the end of 2020. In Nebraska, we have a state law that mandates any municipality to provide basic garbage and disposal collection to the residents at no direct cost. Omaha is the only municipal class city in Nebraska, and my understanding is that we will always be the only municipal class city. Lincoln's getting close. I think the threshold is around 270,000, and Lincoln's getting close, but I think there's plans to adjust those numbers said, it only applies to Omaha. Our collection, our recycling program and our collection services are paid through the General Revenue Fund, which is a combination of sales tax, property tax, and occupational taxes. We did a pilot study that consisted of 2,500 homes throughout different neighborhoods that had the automated system. When I say automated, what we call that truck is a automated side load, or ASL truck, where it's got the arm on the side of the truck that grabs the cart. You guys have probably all seen it. What we found after we did some follow-up surveys is that there was overwhelming support for the new system. So that was really a positive to see that there was such overwhelming support. We did see that the recycling participation, so people that previously had not recycled and started recycling, went up by 19%. And then we did see a volume increase of material collected in the recycling by 17%. So lots of positive things that we saw coming with this new contract. We did learn that yard waste is, and will be a complex issue. We can get into that a little bit further. As you all know, nothing's just black and white. There's some pros and cons to all of it. But we did look at, we had some engineers and some consultants do some studies on commingling versus separate collection for the yard waste. So obviously there's cost savings if you're going to commingle. And when we say commingle, we're talking about putting the garbage and yard waste in the same cart, and it all goes to the landfill together. The landfill that we use here in Douglas County does have a gas utilization system, so they capture that methane that is produced from the landfill, and they use it to power the Elk City substation. So there is some reuse of energy there. We also took into consideration that having a entirely separate yard waste collection system year-round would require a whole nother fleet of trucks, which all those trucks are going to have greenhouse gas emissions on their own. The new trucks do have compressed natural gas, so much cleaner emissions than the previous diesel-fueled vehicles. But like I said, you know, it's not black and white. There's a lot of gray issue. And keep an eye on my time here. So.
You're good.
All right. So as I said, we needed the new system. We had it set in place, and then we put it out to bid. We knew that the new system would have carts that were supplied to all the residents, which before you had to purchase and furnish your own carts. And we knew that we would have mostly or all or mostly of the automated system. We knew that recycling would be collected every other week. And plastic bags, I mentioned, as Danielle, I'm sure we'll touch on, they're really a huge problem with the entire waste and recycling program. In fact, it's a huge problem in our compost operations as well. No yard waste in the recycle carts. Hindsight, we would have changed the color of the carts, not made them green. For some reason, people think that's yard waste. I don't know how anyone thinks that you can mix grass clippings with your recyclables and it'll get separated. We're constantly amazed at. So again, yard waste considerations we did after some town hall meetings. We got a lot of feedback about the importance of yard waste, and since I do run the compost program as well, I was happy to hear that. So we came up with this 12 weeks of unlimited yard waste collection. It'll be 6 in the spring and 6 in the fall. For those that are not aware yet, this year it's going to be starting on May 6th and go through June 14th. So send all that stuff, set it out in paper bags at your curb on your regular day collection, and all that will go down to our Omaha facility and become compost. We also have the $2 stickers year-round. Those bags can be placed at the curb, but just keep in mind that those do go to the landfill. Any time of the year, you can take your material down to our Omaha facility where it'll become compost. And then we also have the last option to put your yard waste in your garbage cart, and that will go to the landfill. Recycling. Not only did we have the collection contract ending, our recycling processing contract was ending as well. We knew that it was going to end at the end of 2020 with no more extensions. So we worked with consultants, put a contract out to bid. We rebid it. the numbers came back much higher than the Public Works Department had anticipated. And so we put a temporary agreement in place to kind of go back to the drawing board and come up with a new option. And we came up with this weighted average commodity value, which I'll get into a little bit further here in a couple slides. We knew that we would have an increase in recycling tonnage, which is a good thing. And then the other thing that we were going to change is the previous contract, the operation of the recycling drop-off sites to the city was run by the recycling processor. The recycling processor, Firstar Fiber, are not haulers. And so you can imagine having a contract where you're hauling material and you're not a hauling company, it really was a challenge for everybody. So the drop site contract is under the solid waste collection contract. So FCC Environmental is the one that was awarded that contract. And they've done a great job running those drop-off sites. So the new recycling processing contract would start on or before January 1st of 2022. We selected the 5-year base bid with 2 5-year renewals. And as I mentioned, what we have in this recycling processing contract is we have a net processing fee, or some people know it as a tip fee, where there's a flat fee to bring our materials to the processor. But then we share in the revenue generation of that. So again, we'll get into this in a little bit further detail, but it's we call it the WAC fee, or weighted average commodity value. So basically, the cleaner material that we're sending them, the less we pay. So that is based on a published market. So everything, whether it's cardboard or paper or, different numbers of plastic, each one has a value, and each month or a couple times a month, that published value, it's going to go up and down. And when the markets are good, the processor gets a much higher revenue for that. When they're bad, as we saw years ago after the problem when China stopped taking all the material in the country, that the markets really bottomed out. We did estimate that we would get 25,000 tons a year, and we hit almost exactly that first year. So here's a breakdown. So what we did, we needed a baseline for our weighted average commodity value. We needed to know what our recycling consisted of that people are putting in their carts. And so we worked with a consultant that do a audit, and these are the materials that the composition, the percentage of each thing that came out from that initial audit. I'm going to flip to the next page too here. Just a lot of it. And so one thing to notice here is, if I have a laser pointer or not, is this residuals. That's an important number to look at. And residuals would be things that are what we call wish cycling. So somebody might think, I don't want to steal your thunder, but people have put deer carcasses in their recycle carts before. How that's recyclable.
We had a lump on steelhead the other day.
Oh, I always get good stories from the folks at Firstar. But yeah, so it's things, it might be wish cycling. So somebody that, I'm not sure if it's recyclable, so you just put it in your cart. What that does is make really expensive garbage. It's putting improper things, diapers, yard waste, all that stuff. And so we the city, pay a portion of that. And so what we found from that initial composition audit was that we were about 18.5%. Since then, the first year of the contract, the processor had to do 2 audits, one in the first 6 months, one in the second 6 months, and now they do an annual audit. So we've actually got that number lower. Now we're about 14.7%. Right here. So, which is great to see, because the national average in 2022 was just under 17%. So you can see we're doing better than the national average of contamination in our recycling. The old corrugated cardboard was significantly higher, especially around COVID. As you guys all know, COVID did a lot of weird things. There's a huge increase in online shopping, home improvement projects, and so the cardboard, we call it the Amazon effect, really changed it. I'm on a first name basis with the Amazon guy at my house. Processing fee, rebate takeaway. So what we were able to achieve by doing this weighted average commodity value formula is that the rebate that the city gets is going to move with the markets. So what that does is give some risk mitigation to both the processor and the city. So when things are doing well, the city has a lower cost, and when things are bad, the city's going to pay more, but the whole burden's not on the processing contractor. It's really there's ups and downs and a lot of trends in the market, and so what it also does is give transparency to both the city and the processor, so we kind of know, if we just had a set fee and the markets are just booming, it's raining money, right? But which we want. The city always wants any contractor to do well. But it's good and then when it's bad, we don't want anyone to go out of business either. So it's great that we have that transparency and cost sharing of that. And as I mentioned, it protects both the city and the contractor. So this is an interesting slide here. The blue is the last year of our old system of collection, and then the orange is the first year, month by month. And so what we ended up seeing was a 55 increase in recycling tonnage collected. A big part of this is that if you guys remember the previous system, we had the green bins about the size of a laundry basket. Unless you were an annexed city, you had to actually go to a library and pick one of those up on your own. They didn't hold a lot. I think it was an 18-gallon bin. Everyone that received city collection received a 96-gallon cart for recycling. And so everybody had access to that cart. And also you had somewhat, before you could put up to 5 32-gallon carts out of garbage. And so I think what it did is help people realize, like, I have only set amount of capacity. I need to make sure I'm taking advantage of both of these. So we're really pleased to see that increase in recycling collection. Here's a quick breakdown on the last handful of years. And so you can see where we're at. 2019, 2020 was before we went to the new system. And then we have this big jump up in 2021. And then it did dip down a little bit. And again, I'm not sure if you're going to speak on any of this, Danielle, but again, COVID did a lot of weird things to markets. People were working from home. People were cooking more meals at home. So I think that's really one of the big reasons why there was such a huge increase, and then it dipped down a little bit. So it looks like we're leveling off slightly here for the last 2 years. And here's an interesting linear graph showing what we want to see is these lines moving together. And so what we don't want to see is both of them moving up, because the top line is our municipal solid waste, so the garbage that's collected. And so I really like to see that dip there, because that means that we're actually producing less garbage and recycling more. I believe the tonnage is still going up year after year if you combine it all, which means that we're still producing more garbage. So lots of room for improvement. Let's take a quick moment to talk about glass. We've got a great glass recycling program in Omaha. We're much better than a lot of cities. We have a relationship with Ripple Glass in Kansas City. They accept our glass, so the glass is only accepted at our drop-off sites. We've got 8 sites in Omaha that collect glass. That glass is bunkered, and then once we have a full load, Ripple will send up a truck, haul it down to Kansas City, where they they crush it, sort it, crush it, and make it into cullet, which is kind of a sand-like consistency. And then it's made into new products, mostly new bottles and containers. But you can see what we accept here. So really think about glasses, bottles, jars, even candle jars and makeup or cosmetic bottles, and then things like windows and shower doors. They do accept it. We're a little hesitant to promote that too much, just because you want to remove that hardware. If anyone's tried to do that, it's not easy, and sometimes people will just put the whole shower door or whole window in there, and that can cause problems. And, not to mention old windows often have lead, so if you didn't think so. Here's some things not accepted. We don't want any TVs. We don't want laminated glass like windshield. It's got a layer of basically plastic on there, which is going to make it harder to get that glass recycled. Cardboard. Sometimes, actually, our glass is extremely clean. If you ever visit our site, you look in there. Ripple Glass has told us that the glass they get from Omaha is some of the cleanest out of all their customers. So good job, Omaha. Here are a few things that our glass is made into. Mostly bottles, and then a lot of it becomes fiberglass insulation. Then a small amount of it goes to things like countertops. The City of Omaha Traffic Department, we bought 90,000 pounds of recycled glass beads, which is used in the reflective surfaces for some of the lane markings. So really, there's a lot of uses for glass. Glass can be recycled an infinite number of times. It doesn't lose any quality. So a few other facts about glass. Nationwide, our recycling rate for glass is about 30%. We do not know what it is in Omaha. That would require us to do a composition study, which I believe is coming down the pipeline in the near future. So we might have a better idea of how much glass is being sent to the landfill. But really, there's no reason to not recycle your glass. It's heavy, so it costs a lot to send it to landfill, and we have a great end market for it. That's fairly local, just a couple hours away. So we also hate to use up landfill space by sending that material that has value, and it's also going to conserve natural resources from not having to create new glass. And again, in that process, for mining and creating new glass, you're going to have a higher amount of greenhouse gases. Here's the dreaded plastic bag. So this is some equipment from a material recovery facility. What it does is kind of bounces the material across, and cardboard separates the different things. Smaller stuff's supposed to fall through. These are all plastic bags. And again, I don't want to get into your slides, Danielle, but workers have to crawl out there with knives and cut those bags free. They have to shut down the whole operation. So again, just because it's plastic doesn't mean it should go in your recycle cart. It causes lots and lots of problems. Our guys that run all the equipment down at our compost facility would say, again, we have very clean compost, but plastic bags are the biggest contaminant. So in Omaha, just a quick overview, we want things like paper, cardboard, food containers, aluminum cans. Aluminum is, the other great thing about aluminum, it can be recycled an infinite number of times. There's no reason any aluminum should ever be sent to the landfill. On average, it takes 60 to 90 days before it's made into a new container and back on the shelf. So it's really impressive. Lots of things. There's more innovation every year. What products can be made with plastic that's been recycled. And just touch on a few things here. We do have some folks from Keep Omaha Beautiful that we partnered with to do this great recycling guide. So stop by their booth and chat with them about it. But this is just a wonderful resource that if you have questions about whether or not something can be recycled or some alternate options, if you don't want to just throw it away, go to guide.wasteline.org and you can type in. We'll have some, depending on the time of year, we'll have some featured items that we have a lot of questions about. But yeah, check it out, and it's a great resource. The other thing we've got now in the city of Omaha is you can sign up for notifications on your phone. You can get a phone call, an email, text reminder. You can download an app on your phone or your tablet, or if you want to customize and print your own recycling calendar, we're no longer mailing those out to everybody, trying to reduce some of the paper that we send out. So get online there. It's on our wasteline.org website, right on that first page. And if you want it on your desktop, you just want to get the widget. If it's on your phone or your tablet, you can download the app. Here's a quick review of our recycling drop-off sites. And anybody live in Midtown? Yep. So recently we lost the one on 72nd and Dodge at West Lanes Bowling. The property owner did not want it there any longer. So we worked with FCC, and we have a new site that just opened a couple weeks ago at 73rd and Farnham, just south of the Jimmy John's. So it's been pretty slow. Not a lot of traffic in there. So make sure we're using it. It's a great site. We hope it will be successful and last for a while there. We've got 2 glass-only sites up at the top, and all the other 6 sites except anything that you could put in your curbside cart and glass. We've got our Omaha neighborhood spring cleanups coming up starting April 20th. They're going to be every Saturday. You can get on our website at Wasteline to type in your address. Anybody in any neighborhood can use any of the cleanups, so you don't have to live in that neighborhood to use it. We just put this up here for convenience. We now have 2 of these wonderful camera trailers. This is a kind of a double-edged sword here. We're happy to receive grant funding to purchase one of these. It's disappointing that we had a need to purchase one of these. These are put at our recycling drop-off sites to reduce the amount of illegal dumping. You get people dropping off furniture, things that just shouldn't be there, pallets, things like that, trees, root balls. It's just, there's options to get rid of that. So if you do illegal dump, I'll be watching, and a lovely law enforcement officer will knock on your door and issue you a citation. So I'm going to just jump over this real quick. I think Danielle will talk a lot about the my old slide here, which should say renew bag. But this is the orange renew bags that will be covered here in a little bit. Here is a interesting slide showing, this is for the whole national audit of what goes in the municipal solid waste. And what's most interesting to me is look at that food waste, right? That is a tremendous amount, 21, I think it's actually closer to 24% now. So that, we have a huge problem with food waste here in the country. And, composting is great, but, there's a reason that it's reduce, reuse, recycle. That's something that's it's a very easy change, and it'll save you money. So just kind of gives you an idea, again, look at glass, glass can be, so much of this can be recycled. Yard trimmings can be compost. So it's a little disappointing to see, how much of that stuff is going to the landfill. Real quick, we're going to talk about Omagrow. Has anybody used Omagrow? It's good stuff. Black gold, they call it, right? Wonderful. So it is compost. It's not a fertilizer for those of you who have not used it. So it needs to be amended, worked into the existing soil. Really, the applications are endless. You can put it in your annual beds, your vegetable gardens. You can make your own raised garden planting soil. It's going to help with water intrusion. So when it rains, if you've got compacted soil, it rains, you don't want that water running off. Having that soil porosity increase by amending your soil is going to feed your roots. It's going to make the soil easier for your roots to grow in. And it's also going to retain water. If you have a real sandy soil that's going to drain quickly, you can add this and it's going to help the water retention. It's made from the yard waste. It does not have any sewage from our treatment plant. If anyone's heard of Milorganite, that's a wonderful product. That comes from Milwaukee. It's Milwaukee Organic Nitrogen. That comes from their wastewater treatment facility. They dry it down, make it in pellets. It's higher nitrogen. We do not have any sewage in ours. It's just basically grass clippings, leaves, and sticks. As I said, the material is collected. It's taken down to our compost facility. We send it through a bunch of grinders to compact the material, and then we blend it. We mix it with air and water and let the natural process take over, and that's how we get our compost. So real quick, a few things, or to finish up, I should say, a few things that we can all do is first and foremost reduce. I mentioned the food waste, so when you're preparing your meals, when you're buying your groceries, I'm a big fan of Costco, but the challenge is when you buy 10 pounds of strawberries, are your kids going to eat them? And I can tell you, no, my kids don't. My kids love fruit. So, pay attention to what you're making. So only make enough food that you're going to be able to have for dinner that night or for a few leftovers. Do some meal prep. Really plan it out. It's going to also help save your budget. Everybody knows grocery costs have been going up. So for those that are budget minded, then that's going to help you as well. The next thing we can do is reuse. So, donating things. If you've got some furniture that's still in good shape, rather than just sending it to the landfill, see if there's somebody else that can use it. That goes for clothes, toys, lots of kids' toys. You know, kids outgrow clothes very quickly. And then you can recycle. So again, reduce, reuse, recycle. We put that third. So if you're not sure about something, don't just assume. Don't be a wish cycler. Check it out on that recycling guide. Use our drop-off sites if you live in an apartment that doesn't receive curbside recycling. Recycle your glass. As I said, we've got 8 options all throughout the city. And then compost any of your yard waste. If you can't leave it on the lawn, and you want to leave your grass clippings there and add nutrients to your existing turf, do that. But if you do have to clean out your yard, then go ahead and make sure you're sending that stuff to Omaha so we can create compost with it. And then lastly, participate in one of the neighborhood cleanups. So if you've got old appliances, they're going to have places where you can take old tires that are going to be made into new products like rubber mulch and play surfaces. Any metal that you bring, it's going to be recycled rather than just go to the landfill. So we've got lots of options in Omaha to handle our material. So with that, I think that's my last slide. I'll hand it over to Danielle.
Thanks for that, Matt. Nice to see such a full room and some really familiar faces here. Stephanie might recognize this picture. I'm Danielle. I work for Firstar Fiber. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing there. I kind of feel like I'm preaching to the choir a little bit with this presentation and the people in the room, but hopefully there'll be some new information and we'll have some questions at the end. So I might zip through so that we can leave some question time. For those of you that aren't familiar with Firstar Fiber, we are the largest mechanical recycling facility in the state of Nebraska. We employ 120 people at our facility, and we take material from Omaha, Lincoln, and rural areas from about a 5-state region, really. We process and market up to 100,000 tons per year, and we're known for being very sustainable minded. We make sure that we're trying to capture as much as we possibly can, but we also go above and beyond and try and pull more out of the landfill. And we've actually recently become vertically integrated, and we now actually manufacture products at our facility. So we're completing the full cycle here in Omaha, which is really nice. This is why I got into this industry. This phrase is my why do I do this? Everybody has heard this before, but there really is no such thing as a way. When we throw anything away, it has to go somewhere. So, like I said, kind of preaching to the choir a little bit here, but recycling and how does that impact climate change and climate resiliency? I mean, we all know that recycling helps reduce greenhouse gas emissions, reduces the need for extracting and processing of raw and virgin materials. Recycling is also generally more energy efficient than processing of virgin materials. It helps to reduce the methane production in the landfills. Landfills are actually the 3rd largest source of methane gas production in the country. So that's a big deal. And also transitioning towards that circular economy model, we can really reduce our dependence on resource-intensive industries, and obviously that helps with greenhouse gas emissions as well. Oops. Houston, we have a problem. So I want to speak a little bit about developing resilient recycling systems. Because one of the questions that I hear all the time, or one of the things that I get told all the time, is recycling doesn't work. And I spend a lot of time answering that question, and the truth is it actually does. Is it perfect? No. There's always room for improvement. Is it a step that helps us get to where we want to be? Absolutely. So these are some of the things that we at Firstar Fiber are doing to develop, resilient recycling systems that can kind of sustain the market flows and ebbs and things like that. Matt referred to China Sword, and then when that happened, a lot of recycling programs from around the country closed down because they didn't have places to send their materials. We at Firstar, obviously we're a long way from the ports, so we weren't reliant on sending our materials overseas. We really focus on developing our relationships with domestic end markets and users of those materials here. And also getting them under contract as well, so that we know that when the material comes into us, we have somewhere to send it and we have something to do with it. Innovation, Firstar has invested a lot of money in making sure that we have some really good technology that helps us with sorting out the materials. When it comes into us in the bin, you put everything all in the same bin. Well, for us to sell that and to have a valuable product, we need to separate out all those different material types. So we use a bunch of different technologies, from manual hand sorting right through to technologies like robots, infrared opticals, magnets, eddy currents, different technologies that we can use that can help us separate those materials and make cleaner streams that are then therefore more valuable to us. So we invest a lot of money in our infrastructure. It's a great facility that we have here in Omaha, and it's something that we should all be really proud of. We're also very keen on engagement and education. So we worked with Matt and the Keep Omaha Beautiful team with that recycling guide that Matt showed you before, which is amazing. I mean, you can put the most random products into that recycling guide and it's going to tell you exactly what to do with it. So kudos to the team for putting that one together. We also like to do a lot of education with the schools. We worked recently with Lincoln Public Schools as well. So we do a lot of education. And then recovery, pulling what we can out of the landfill, getting that value for those materials that are otherwise going to be wasted. So as Matt referred to the Hefty Renew program before, I'll touch on that in a minute. That's a good example of taking a product that was previously going to the landfill, and now we're able to recover that and put it to use. Economics, that's huge. I mean, people for the longest of times have kind of thought, well, recycling's free. Why should we be paying for recycling? They're selling those materials. Well, the materials kind of work on that market index that Matt was referring to. Sometimes the material values can be high, sometimes they can be low. Like with China Sword, when a lot of the recycling programs had to close down, the markets were really low. Well, we still have to pay our staff. We still have to make sure that our employees are paid. We still have to make sure we keep our facility open, because otherwise Matt's going to be getting cranky at me, getting cranky at me if we can't open our doors. There is a cost to recycling. It is a service. But what we do, what we're doing is working with communities, Lincoln, Omaha, other rural communities, to develop programs that make economic sense. So we cover our basic processing fee at the offset, so that we know that no matter what happens, we'll still be able to run. We'll still be able to accept that waste. And then subsequently, we can share any revenue that comes off the back of it. In addition to that, we love working with stakeholders and community groups. So if you're members of any community groups that want to come out and see recycling working, let us know, because we love giving tours and all of that sort of thing. So we're happy to show you around so that you can see it happen for yourself. I always say seeing is believing. And for those that have toured our site, toured our facility, it's something else. So the Hefty Renew program, we were the first material recovery facility in the country to implement this back in 2016. At the time, it was, we needed, we wanted to prove that these materials could be captured in a way that wasn't going to gunk up the system, like the photo that Matt showed before of all the bags that were tied into the screens. These bags are bright orange, so we can see them right at the very start. So the first thing that comes off our system is these orange bags. And that's why they're that bright color. That's why when people say, do I have to use a Hefty Renew bag? We say absolutely, so that we can recognize it. The bags are also designed so that they don't split when they're put into the compacting trucks. They will stretch rather than split, because if they were just normal bags, they can potentially split, and then you've mixed the bad plastics in with the good plastics, so, with the good stuff. So basically, the Renew program works by filling up the orange bags. When it's full, you're talking about plastics that aren't your traditional plastics that can be recycled. So we're talking chip packets, candy wrappers, foam to go containers, any of those plastics that aren't normal traditional recyclables. Fill the bag up, drop it in, tie it shut, I should say, and then drop it in with your recycling. Then when it comes to us at Firstar, we pull it off, and then we send it over to our plastic pre-processing facility, which is the new technology that we've just put in. What that does is it basically opens the bags through a bag breaker, runs it through a shredder, cleans it all up, runs it under some magnets, makes sure there isn't anything that's not supposed to be in there, and it turns it into, blends it all together, and it turns it into these little pellets, which now become a feedstock for use in other products. So that can be used in things like the plastic lumber that you can see here, but it can also be used in things like railroad ties and other durable products. So asphalt roads, various different things that we're working with. So one of the things that we're trying to do at Firstar is demonstrate that this is something that we can replicate across the country. So we're doing it here in Omaha right now, but it's being built as a bolt-on facility so that we can replicate this at other material recovery facilities. So hopefully all that film plastic that's currently going into landfill, we can provide a value to it now and give it a good use. I just wanted to draw this to everybody's attention as well. This is actually some information that was put together by ISRI, which is the Institute of Scrap Recyclers. So they do a lot of study that looks at the economic impact of recycling. And so one of the things I find in Nebraska is a lot of people say, well, landfill's so cheap, let's just stick it in the hole for now, and we'll figure it out later. It makes sense, dollars and cents, literally. We have it's estimated that the industry in Nebraska has a total economic impact of $495 million in this state alone. So that's a big deal. This is a quote from my boss and a man that a lot of you know, Dale Googles. He always says, waste the resources waiting for alternative sensible thinking to emerge. And I've always thought that that's really actually a good way to describe it. So I didn't want to go on about how to and what to, because I knew Matt had that covered for everybody. So, but I do want to open it up for some questions. We've got about 10 minutes left in the session. I know Matt covered a lot, and I kind of whizzed through things. I have the gifts of the gab here, so I was trying to keep it moving. So we'd love to answer any questions, if any of you have them. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't see any mention in there regarding electronic waste and batteries, both alkaline, lead, and particularly lithium.
Absolutely. So we don't actually deal with electronic recycling. Reason being, that was a conscious choice. There's a lot of things that can be recycled, but it's a case of, if you do everything, you'll never excel at anything type thing. So there are other electronic recyclers within the city. Cross Electronics, I know, is one. Matt, you might be able to list a few more.
Yeah. So under the sink is our household hazardous waste facility, and they will take rechargeable batteries, lithium-ion batteries, not your regular alkaline batteries. Those are not hazardous, so those can go in the garbage. But there are programs that They charge to recycle those batteries. I think it's around $1 a pound.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. So, yeah. So there are options. Some of the Omaha Spring Cleanup, the neighborhoods. The city does not organize a electronics recycling, but a lot of the neighborhood groups will, on their own accord, have a recycler there for electronics. So that's another great way to, if you've got old printers and TVs and stuff like that.
I will speak to the battery thing as well. Batteries, and especially lithium-ion batteries, are the #1 cause of fires in recycling facilities in this country. And it is amazing how many things contain lithium batteries. You probably saw the media. We have had some fires at our facility. Batteries, big problem. And people don't realize what they can be in. So, I mean, you think about a greeting card. Everybody thinks those are recyclable, but if it's one of those ones that you open and it sings a song at you, then it's got a battery in it that's going to cause fires if it goes through the recycling. Kids' shoes, not that they should be in the recycling, but there is lithium-ion batteries in so many different things nowadays, and so really educating the public to be careful with those is a big deal. A lot of the Batteries Plus, Best Buy, a lot of the electronic stores will have take backs as well for those things.
Alkaline batteries, and just in the garbage, for want of a better term, or in the recycle bin, if there's nothing recyclable there, the metal casing around it, or okay.
No, definitely don't put it in the recycling, because our system, a lot of it is mechanical. So you think these things are going through screens, they've got discs and wheels and stuff like that is kind of chugging. You get a battery in that's can spark off things. We've got problems type things. So do you have any advice for disposal of the alkaline batteries? Are you supposed to tape the ends of them?
Yeah, again, just if you can put them in something so they're not falling out when the cart's serviced. It's not required that your garbage in your black cart is bagged. It does keep things from falling out. If you've seen that arm, it kind of whip around. So you don't want those getting out, because then it's going to fall in the curb and then go down and get washed down into the storm drain. So.
Danielle, we work with Cross Recycling for alkaline batteries.
You do? Yeah. Cross Recycling does some really good work with that. So, yeah.
So I had a question. Looking at the preliminary data on the Climate Action Resiliency Plan, it looks like, despite the improvements we've had in recycling, our waste emissions have been going up, and it looks like that's at least in part due to the mayor's cutback on the composting and sending that organic waste to the landfill. Is there any plans to increase the access to yard waste again in the future, or is that something that will work out?
At this time, I'm not aware of any plans. What really that comes down to is cost. The cost to have a third cart, it's millions of dollars a year, not to mention the added emissions from a separate route. Personally, I'd take off my city hat. I would love to have more material. We've got a great composting facility. We can handle a whole lot more material. But like I said, there's costs, and the mayor doesn't want to raise taxes. And that's what the system that they selected is what we can afford.
Yeah.
Building off that question a little bit, do you know if there's any plans to increase glass recycling participation in Omaha at all?
There are no plans to ever, at this point that I'm aware of, to accept it curbside. And the main reason for that is that we use compactor trucks. And so if we mix glass in there, what's going to happen is that glass shatters. You're going to get shards mixed in with the fiber. There's a lot of that material. There's dampness in there from people not properly emptying containers. And so what happens, you're going to lower the quality of the fiber. So the Firstar folks at Firstar Fiber aren't going to be able to market that cardboard, paper, all that stuff, or it's going to have a lower quality. And in turn, the glass is going to be a lower quality because it's going to have more contamination. So right now, like I said, we've got a great program. We just, the biggest draw or the biggest downside is that people have to drive out to a site to drop it off. I did just get a grant, placed the final order. We're getting 9,000 tote bags with all our information. We're going to hand out at events like this. I was hoping that it would be here by now, but they're coming from overseas, and so. But we're going to hand those out, and it's to promote glass recycling. It's from the Glass Recycling Foundation, so we would absolutely love to have more glass. But we are looking for a spot for another glass-only site up somewhere near Florence. We're kind of looking at the North 30th area. Challenge is finding a property owner that wants to have that site.
Thank you.
The other issue with glass recycling being collected curbside, aside from it breaking up and getting mixed in with the recyclables, is we have a real human element to our sorting and processing. So we have people that are touching the recycling to separate it. You start adding glass to that mix and you've got a health and safety hazard. But in addition to that, it's really rough on our equipment. So everything runs on conveyor belts and stuff like that. When there's glass added to the mix, those conveyor belts and stuff shred up really, really quickly. So.
I have a question about the Hefty Orange Bag program. I work here, and we have a lot of styrofoam packaging from appliances that's bigger, and I work my butt off to get them broken down in those little bags. I've seen online 32-gallon bags. Where can I get 32-gallon orange bags, and can I drop off big pieces like sneeze guards from Dining Center at your facility, like we can drop it off at the Omaha facility if we have yard waste? Can we drop off?
So you can get 30-gallon bags from us at Firstar and 55-gallon bags from us at Firstar. So like I could literally fit in one of them, so that's saying something. But the reason we say get them directly from Firstar is because when we're dealing with like commercial businesses and stuff like that, you know, those are big bags. They can be prone to contamination unless they're people that we're working with to make sure the right stuff is going in there. But yeah, absolutely connect with me afterwards. Actually connect with this guy here and he can get you sorted out with some larger bags for that. In addition, if anyone has like big styrofoam that's like the white stuff, like if you build a TV or something like that, and it's the really big stuff, Plastilite also has drop off for that, and so you can take it directly there too. So if you don't want to break it up and put it into the other bags. Yeah.
Having to do with the orange bag, if you're unsure about a piece of plastic and it might be a 1 or a 2, can you put it in the orange bag?
Yeah, so it's super forgiving. So I always say, if you're not sure if it can be recycled, then it's better to go in the energy bag than it is to go into the normal recycling. The exception to the rule is PVC.
Okay.
You don't really see that so much anymore in a household application. It used to be in a lot of like toiletry containers and things like that. But unless you're a plumber and stuff like that, they're kind of moving away from that and more to like the polypropylene. But a good rule of thumb is it a container? If it's a container, then it's likely to be recycled.
Okay.
If it's like a film or flexible or a multi-laminate, then energy bag. Yeah.
Kind of going off of that, if you have something that would normally be recycled but it's too dirty, can you put it in the orange bag?
I would say, like, define too dirty.
Too much food grease.
Okay, so when it comes to how clean do your recyclables need, they don't need to be, like, absolutely pristine. I mean, we love it when you're sitting there and you're washing everything out. I mean, we love it, and if you want to keep doing that, yes, thank you very much. However, if you've got a food container, as long as it's empty, as long as you scraped as much of it out as you can, it doesn't have to be absolutely pristine. So, I mean, if you've got that peanut butter jar that you've scraped absolutely every bit out, then put the lid back on, put it in your recycling, you're perfectly fine. And while we're talking about it, pizza boxes are recyclable. So as long as you don't put your anchovies and stuff, like leave that in there, send it our way. We do have homes for it. So we're probably running out of time, maybe one more.
You have a hand up there, yeah.
You talked shortly about the plastics being made into asphalt. It's supposed to be, I remember reading back a long time ago, more durable. than using tar? And is that cost effective?
So there's a few different pilots that are going on at the moment, a few different universities that are working on different things with that. It, depending on the mix, depending on the project, they're all kind of working a little bit differently. So that's kind of a broader question to ask, but I can provide you with some information. I do have energy bags here, sample kits if anyone wants one. I do also have business cards if anybody didn't get their question answered and wants to follow up with me. Feel free to come up and grab one off me and I'll connect with you after the fact.